somebody apparently forgot to advise Ousmane Dembele that he ought to do some cardio during his self-imposed sabbatical from Borussia Dortmund. Dembele successfully forced a record transfer to Barcelona by sitting out BVB training, making Dortmund's decision to sell him even easier. More top Premier League storylines, but Barca coach Ernesto Valverde is in a predicament, according to Don Balin, which says the out-of-shape Dembele may not even be ready for a spot in Barca's 18 despite his status as a record signing and a hopeful long-term replacement for Neymar. Of course we don't know whether Dembele was doing any training during his time away from BVB. He might have been running and winning 4-5 kiloseconds a day. Don Balin poses the millions and millions of dollars question in its post. Does Valverde risk making his board look awkward by sitting Dembele, or does he put the player in his 18, or starting 11, and send a message of which his players may not accept its political nature? This is going to send Ousmane down a spot in our Dembele Power Rankings. 3. Ousmane Dembele, Barcelona 2. Moussa Dembele, Celtic 1. Moussa Dembele, Tottenham Hotspur follower at Nicolas Mendela. The steal in the midfield of the United States men's national team was low, if not altogether absent, for the majority of their one-point international break. Bruce Arena's men fell 20 at home to Costa Rica before Bobby Wood helped them steal a point in Honduras at San Pedro Sula on Tuesday. It was Michael Bradley with Darlington Nagbe, Christian Pulisic, and Fabian Johnson on Friday, and then Bradley, Nagbe, Pulisic, and Kellen Acosta on Tuesday. More World Cup prognoses for all confederations. Missing from that mix was combustible veteran Jermaine Jones, out with injury and apparently very much wanted by Arena. From MLSsoccer.com: I know I came from a long-time injury. I got injured with a toe, so me and US head coach Bruce Arena, we talked and everything is okay. If I'm 100% fit, I want to focus first on the Galaxy, get that playoff spot, then focus in October on making the national team roster. The 69 times capped Jones has 4 goals for the national team, including a stunning blast against Portugal at the 2014 World Cup. With Jones, who's been injured for much of this year, the US has 1 draw and 2 losses in World Cup qualifiers. He was also one of the side's better players in the Copa America Centenario, although he picked up his only red card as a USMNT player when he was sent off against Ecuador. Jones had been talismanic for Colorado and New England, but how has his presence affected the USMNT since he debuted under Bob Bradley in 2010? All data via Transfermarkt. With Jones tournament play 17W4D12L, without Jones tournament play 21W5D5L. But hold on, should Jones be punished for not being called up for Gold Cup action since 2011? Let's take another look at those marks. Without those weekend tournaments, B teams are not. With Jones tournament play EXC. Gold Cups 13W4D10L. Without Jones tournaments EXC. Gold Cups 7W3D3L. Jones played every minute of one of the United States' top World Cup performances in 2014, 1W1D2L, as well as the CONCACAF Cup loss to Mexico. He also played in 5 Copa America matches, 3W2L, while missing the elimination match versus Argentina with a red card suspension. That leaves us World Cup qualifying with and without Jones, and let's only look at hex matches to eliminate the weaker teams. Sorry, 121 aggregate wins over St. Vincent, though he played one and missed the other. With Jones, hex 5W2D3L. Without Jones, hex 4W3D1L. Finally, what about versus Panama and Trinidad and Tobago? The Yanks did win in Panama without Jones in the 2013 hex and drew in TT with him in the last round of qualifying. I'm a big Jones supporter, but even in the face of these numbers I find it hard to make the argument that his first international action with this group since March should be in must-win qualifiers with the nation's soccer reputation on the line. Follow at Nicolas Mendela. Somerset West, South Africa. At the South African Football Association says FIFA's decision to order a World Cup qualifier against Senegal to be replayed because of match fixing by a crooked referee is unprecedented and unfair. SAFA is considering appealing FIFA's order that the 21 win over Senegal in November last year is annulled and the game is replayed because Ghanaian referee Joseph Lamptey was found guilty of manipulating the match. More MLS Power Rankings. Lamptey was banned for life. Although there are no complaints over his punishment, FIFA has effectively also penalized South Africa, and it could end its hopes of making it to the World Cup next year, despite confirming that neither team had any role in a knowledge of the fixing. The case, not seen before in top-level soccer, centers on Lamptey's decision to give South Africa a penalty for a non-existent handball against Senegal defender Kalidou Koulibaly. The ball clearly struck Koulibaly on the knee and dropped to the ground. South Africa, which didn't even appeal for a penalty, scored from the spot kick and went on to win. It's thought that Lamptey was acting on the orders of match fixers organizing illegal betting scams. FIFA has not provided full details of the case against the referee but says that its findings against Lamptey took into account reports of irregular betting activities from various international betting monitoring companies. The upshot is South Africa has been stripped of its only win so far in the final round of qualifying in Africa. SAFA senior legal counsel Norman Aron says FIFA's move is unfair for a number of reasons and constitutes a miscarriage of justice. The Premier League has voted to close the summer transfer window before the season begins, a move which will change the landscape of the season's opening weeks. There are far more upsides to the move than downsides. The move should help clamp down on panic buys and bring cohesion to teams earlier in the season, but there are drawbacks for Premier League clubs. More World Cup prognoses for all confederations. That's because teams outside of the Premier League will still be able to buy players before the end of their transfer windows, which means big money teams like Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Paris Saint-Germain will still have the chance to upset the proverbial apple carts of their England and Wales-based peers. The change could also seriously hamper the chances of safety for newly promoted Premier League sides. It's not that those clubs would walk onto the pitch for opening day, learn they are more overmatched than expected, and have to wait half the campaign at a minimum for reinforcements. Rather, it's knowing that these clubs make most of their buys soon after promotion, and will face a more frenzied market earlier in the window. These same clubs would have a further premium placed on scouting and signing players who make the cut. And they may face higher fees from teams abroad who know that Premier League business has to be completed by a certain date. All, though, it will help the place product on opening day and have the strong clubs more well-oiled for European competition. Follow at Nicolas Mendela Chicago. At 41 cities in the United States, Mexico and Canada have submitted preliminary bids to host 2026 World Cup matches. The North American Bid Committee said Thursday its proposal will be sent to FIFA in March. The bid is expected to include up to 25 cities. At least 12 cities would ultimately be selected if the FIFA Congress picks the joint bid when it votes in June 2018. The 2026 World Cup will be the first with a 48-nation field. Morocco said it also intends to bid. More top Premier League storylines. Week 4 3 sites were dropped from the preliminary list announced last month: Calgary, Alberta, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and San Diego. Just 3 stadiums that bid hosted games during the 1994 World Cup: Chicago's Soldier Field, Dallas Cotton Bowl, and Orlando, Florida's Camping World Stadium, formerly known as the Citrus Bowl. Soldier Field underwent a gut renovation in 2003. 2 of the sites on the list hosted matches at the 1994 at stadiums that have been replaced with new venues on adjacent land: East Rutherford, New Jersey, and Foxborough, Massachusetts. Stadiums are required to have at least 40,000 seats for group stage matches and at least 80,000 for the opening game and final. 32 areas and 35 stadiums are on the list for the US. Canada has 6 cities and Mexico 3. 3 stadiums were submitted from the Los Angeles area and 2 from the Dallas area. The US would host 60 of 80 games, including all from the quarterfinals on. The bidding stadiums: United States, Arlington, Texas, at Stadium Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium Baltimore, Mount Bank Stadium Birmingham, Alabama, Legion Field Charlotte, North Carolina, Bank of America Stadium Chicago, Soldier Field Cincinnati, Paul Brown Stadium Cleveland, First Energy Stadium Dallas, Cotton Bowl Denver, Sports Authority Field Detroit, Ford Field East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium Foxborough, Massachusetts Glendale, Arizona, University of Phoenix Stadium Houston, NRG Stadium Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium Inglewood, California, LA Stadium at Hollywood Park Jacksonville, Florida, Everbank Field Kansas City, Missouri, Arrowhead Stadium Landover, Maryland, FedEx Field Las Vegas, Raiders Stadium under construction Los Angeles, Memorial Coliseum Miami, Hard Rock Stadium Minneapolis, US Bank Stadium Nashville, Tennessee, Nissan Stadium New Orleans, Superdome Orlando, Florida, Camping World Stadium Pasadena, California, Rose Bowl Philadelphia, Lincoln Financial Field Pittsburgh, Heinz Field Salt Lake City, Rice-Eccles Stadium San Antonio, Alamodome Santa Clara California, Levi's Stadium Seattle, CenturyLink Field Tampa Florida, Raymond James Stadium Canada Edmonton, Alberta, Commonwealth Stadium Montreal, Olympic Stadium Ottawa, Ontario, TD Place Regina, Saskatchewan, Mosaic Stadium Toronto, BMO Field Vancouver, British Columbia, BC Place Mexico Guadalajara, Estadio Chivas Mexico City, Estadio Azteca Monterrey, Estadio Rayados